Welcome back to State of the FBS. We have a college football playoff bracket. How about that? After the entire season, we finally get down to the end here. Miami jumps into the field, Notre Dame out, ACC chaos happening all over the place. There were some not very close conference championship games. We're going to talk about all of it. If you have been enjoying the videos, do make sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. But we're going to get right into this with your CFP rankings. At number 1, Indiana. How about the Hoosiers taking down Ohio State? We'll talk in depth about that game in a little bit. But Ohio State, number 2. Georgia, number 3. Texas Tech gets your last bye at number 4. Your home playoff teams, number 5, Oregon, number 6, Ole Miss, number 7, Texas A&M, and number 8, Oklahoma. And then the teams hitting the road, number 9, Alabama, number 10, Miami, number 11, Tulane, and number 12, JMU. So I honestly don't think this is too bad of a playoff. I think given the system, the committee got it absolutely right. I know BYU you kind of feel bad for because they do only have 2 losses and they're both the number 4 Texas Tech, but they just got dominated. And I know the same thing, absolutely the same thing can be said for Alabama in the conference championship game. Absolutely 100%. Both of those teams got stonewalled and dominated. I think the big difference there, Alabama entered the day in the field, BYU entered the day out of the field. Also, Alabama has a win at Georgia earlier this season. BYU got smoked when they played Tech in Lubbock the first time. I think that's really where that difference is it's a split season series with Alabama and Georgia now. And also, I think if you drop out the SEC champ or the SEC 1 seed and the championship loser, they might burn the whole thing to the ground, and I don't want to deal with that, to be honest. So Miami, finally common sense prevails. The Hurricanes are in over Notre Dame, who they beat on the field as it should be. Tulane takes down North Texas. They secure the 11 seed. And then with Duke beating Virginia, JMU into the playoff. How about that? I know there are going to be some people not happy about multiple group of 5 teams. I think it's a little odd. I do think JMU, honestly, is probably a better team than Tulane. I know they're power rated a lot higher for sure, so we'll see what happens when those 2 teams hit the road in the playoff. But let's talk matchups now. It's going to be James Madison at Oregon. James Madison really lives and dies by running the football. They're very effective at it. They also have a really good run defense. So whoever wins the line of scrimmage, I think, is going to win in this game. I think that's an extremely bad recipe for a G5 team traveling up to Eugene, Oregon, is you have to win by winning the line of scrimmage. So I think Oregon takes that one. Alabama at Oklahoma. We've seen this one already in Tuscaloosa, though, and Oklahoma forced turnovers. They were able to get to Ty Simpson. That was kind of where we started to see the fall off of Ty Simpson this season, and I think that Oklahoma can force those turnovers again. I'm also curious to see, with a few weeks of rest, if you get a better version of John Mateer than you have over most of the second half of the season. If you do, I think Oklahoma absolutely wins that game, but right now, Alabama, it's just a big struggle. They can't run the ball, and now that Ty Simpson's off, you wonder, what does the offense even do? It's a great question. And then we have Tulane traveling to Oxford to take on Ole Miss, and you might be thinking, did these 2 teams play already? Indeed, they did, and Ole Miss won 45-10, so this might be a splattering in Oxford this time. I am not overly excited for this game. You have 2 new coaches in Pete Golding and, well, John Summerall technically still the coach at Tulane for the rest of the playoff, but leaving for the Florida job, obviously. And then Miami at Texas A&M is the game I'm most excited about in this first round. Kyle Field, College Station, always rocking. 2 teams that really want to out-physical you, be the more tenacious team at the line of scrimmage. Both these teams have the ability, and then I think if you force these 2 quarterbacks to throw, you might end up with a pick fest between Carson Beck and Marcel Reed, the way they've been launching it to the other team recently. So I'm very excited for that game. I think it's going to be very fun. Whichever team runs the ball in that game, I would expect to win as well. But the winner of that Miami-Texas A&M game will take on Ohio State. Winner of Ole Miss-Tulane will take on Georgia. Winner of Alabama-Oklahoma will take on Indiana. And the winner of JMU-Oregon will take on Texas Tech. So let's take a moment and just talk about the playoff system here, because I know there's a lot of, we'll say, feedback on social media. We'll put it nicely. I don't want to go with rioting. But a lot of people upset about 2 G5 teams and auto bids and everything. And what I would say to that is, 1, don't blame the G5 for the ACC sucking. I think that is a valid point you can make, because if the ACC gets its act together, you could have Georgia Tech and Miami both in this playoff right now and only one G5 team. And if that one G5 team is JMU, I know JMU is probably not the same caliber of team as those other teams, but still, I don't have a super big issue with it. And I know that maybe puts me different than a lot of people, but I like seeing these teams get chances to compete. I know that when you get blowouts, it's disappointing, and there's a lot of money in this, and TV networks don't want blowouts. But I think if you're going to treat the G5 as part of college football, main college football, and not split them off into their own thing, you have to give them a seat at the table for this. Although I would like to see you have to be ranked at least 20th or higher as a G5 team to get that auto bid. I think that's absolutely fair, because if there's a year where there's not really any good G5 team, the whole G5 seems down, I would understand you don't want to chuck a team that's like 27th, 28th in the rankings into a playoff, because realistically, they don't have a chance of winning it. It's the same reason that I'm upset that we're even talking about, oh, Texas, Vandy, Notre Dame, robbed. Win games. Just win games, and then you're not robbed. If you're Texas, don't lose to Florida, which you see what I'm wearing. Florida was terrible this year. If you're Texas, don't go lose to Florida. If you're Notre Dame, don't lose those 2 games at the start of the year. They were great opportunities. Do not lose those games. If you're Vanderbilt, I think they probably have the best gripe of anyone other than BYU, but still, as Clark Lee said, they had opportunities to win games versus Texas, versus Alabama. They didn't win those games. And then you have Notre Dame taking their ball and going home, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Play in your bowl game. Is it play like a champion today, or play until we don't get what we want and then we quit? It is just incredibly frustrating. It's little kid on the playground, doesn't get the call he wants and pick up basketball and takes the ball and goes home. It is stupid. It's inexcusable. You got that bowl game invite. You played. You went 10-2. Go to the stupid bowl game and quit throwing a hissy fit in the corner. It frustrates me so much. I get you're independent. You do your own thing, but stop acting like you're too big to go play in a bowl game. It's stupid. I hate it so much. Get your act together up in South Bend. It's ridiculousness. But yeah, I don't think we need expansion. The last thing we need is college football playoff expansion. I think with 4, I would have said if you're going to have a playoff, I would have liked to see 8. I think that 4 is a little bit too small to do a playoff with. I think for college football, 8 is your real perfect scenario. And in my opinion, if you're going to have a playoff, you need to have auto bids, or else it isn't a playoff. It's a we're going to pick who we think needs to be here. So in a perfect world for me, it's an 8-team playoff with your P4 champs getting auto bids, and then you pick 4 at-large teams. And then I think if a G5 is ranked in that scenario, if it's 8 teams, I think a G5 team would need to be top 15, and then you can give a G5 auto bid in that case. Might sound complicated, I know, but that's what I would like to do. I think 12 is already a little bit too much. The fact that we have 2 and 3 lost teams arguing, I deserve a shot at a championship, win games. Quit whining in the corner and go win games. You didn't have back in like BCS times, back in 14 playoff times. Sure, there were teams that got maybe a little gypped. 2023 Georgia, I think, was absolutely robbed. That was an incredible team that because of, which also, that's like the only time they've ever punished a conference championship loser, and they did it with 2023 Georgia. I was shocked by that, but still, that's, I think, an example of a team that had a legitimate reason to be upset. But if you're 10-2, 9-3, quit complaining that you don't get a shot for a championship. Quit campaigning on social media. Just go out and win more games. And I don't want this expanded anymore. If we expand to 16 or 24, and I have to hear shows every week on why 8-4 Tennessee should be in the playoff, or 8-4 LSU, or like a 9-3 Big Ten team should be in the playoff, just shut up. No, we don't need that. It's ridiculous. If you're good enough to deserve a shot at a championship, you're good enough to go and only lose 1 game or lose no games in the regular season. So go out, prove you're a good team instead of talking about how great you could be on social media. Go win your games and then prove you deserve a playoff spot. But that's enough of me ranting on that. Let's talk about the games that happened last week, because there were some good ones. Indiana takes down Ohio State 13-10. Fernando Heiss Mendoza may be your guy heading to New York. 15 of 23, 222, touchdown and a pick. I know it isn't the most inspiring stat line to look at, but some of the throws he was making, especially late in this game. Charlie Becker was awesome, 6 for 126. And then how about the Indiana defense? Ohio State, one of the most lethal offenses all season, an elite receiver core. Julian Sayan's been awesome. And what did I say last week on the show? If you're going to beat Ohio State, the way you have to do it is you have to completely stuff the run and then hope you can make Sayan have an off day. That is exactly to a T what Indiana did. Ohio State ran for just 58 yards, and Sayan was a bit off. He threw a pick. They got pressure to him. Indiana's defense was so good. And how about the Indiana pass rush, too? They, in their big games so far this season, their real key games, they have shown up big time. They had 5 sacks in the Big Ten Championship versus Ohio State. And if you remember back to that game in Eugene, they had 6 sacks at Oregon. So when it's big time, these Indiana pass rushers show up and show out. I was super impressed with that. These corners are on lockdown. Listen, 5'9" D'Angelo Pons locking up, maybe not locking up, but hanging with Jeremiah Smith highly effectively is unbelievably impressive. That's about a 6 or 7 inch deficit when it comes to height for Pons to Smith, and for him to hang in there and just be able to play tight coverage, I was super impressed. They really kept the Ohio State receivers under wraps. And what I would say is someone please check the Ryan Day play sheet in the red zone, because oh my goodness, the drive where they were down there and had 3rd and short and proceeded to throw it 2 times, mind-numbing. I get you can't run the ball well, but also they weren't good pass plays. I don't know. It just seemed odd. Then the next drive, you try to kick the field goal to tie it, which I actually don't hate. I know a lot of people hate that decision to not go for it there, but I think you have to tie it in that spot. You can't put everything on the line trying to go for it there. And also, you don't expect your kicker to miss from like 7 yards out. So I think I totally understand taking that field goal, but still, just the red zone offense for Ohio State has to be better if they're going to win in the playoffs. And Grant, I do think Indiana's the best team in the country for sure. I still think Ohio State is an extremely talented team. They're probably going to win games in the playoff, but they just need to tune up a couple things. I would say the pass protection needs to be a little bit better, because if you go into, say, you start playing a team like A&M, or let's check the matchups again here. Yeah, so they're slated to play the winner of Miami A&M. If you get a Cassius Howell or a Reuben Bain coming after Julian Sayan like that, I'm a little bit worried with how Sayan's going to hold up now at this point. But we'll see what happens going forward. Massive credit to Indiana, Curt Cignetti. Indiana, one of historically the worst FBS programs in college football. I believe they're second last in wins all time in the FBS, but Ohio, or the Power Four. Yeah, Power Conference maybe. I don't know. It's one of the two. Regardless, Curt Cignetti, remarkable turnaround, now 13-0. Every other new coach in America hates Curt Cignetti because they don't get patience anymore, but it is what it is. He is awesome, and I cannot believe what he's done at Indiana. But now let's talk about the game that happened in Atlanta, and game is maybe a strong word, because Georgia went in and hit Alabama in the side of the head with a frying pan. It was not pretty. Alabama had one scoring drive that looked beautifully scripted. I don't know where they found that. The rest of the game, they were struggling. Yes, you, watching at home, had more rushing yards on Saturday than the entire Alabama Crimson Tide team. Alabama rushed for -3 yards. Georgia ran for 141. You get that kind of box score disparity in an SEC game, you don't need anything else to know who won that game. Georgia bullied Alabama at the line of scrimmage. That was with Drew Bobo, their starting center, out. They were awesome. The Georgia defensive line played incredibly well. We've known all season Alabama can't run the football, but now when you add in Ty Simpson struggling, I don't know what the Alabama offense is at this point. Is it just you kind of hope you get enough together, enough great plays by these receivers working after the catch? Because if Ty Simpson's under pressure and he's struggling to throw the ball accurately, you can't get in rhythm with the run because you can't run the ball. So I don't know what the plan needs to be for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer going forward. I do think that getting a couple weeks off to get guys healthy will absolutely help. They are banged up to heck right now, is Alabama. To be fair, Georgia is too. Both these teams, the attrition is crazy. But Alabama has to get healthy. They have to get the offense figured out. And they're going to play a team in Oklahoma who really kind of started the downward trend for them and was elite at forcing turnovers against them. So I'm worried about Alabama. I think if you're a Crimson Tide fan, you should absolutely be concerned. But they don't need me to tell them that. I think they're concerned when anything that's not a 20-point blowout happens up there in Tuscaloosa for sure. So it was just an incredibly impressive performance from Georgia. I I would be scared of Georgia right now if I were any other team in the country. I know they're not the flashiest. The offense isn't world beating by any means, but there's something to be said for a team that will just lock you down. And then Kirby Smart, one of, if not the best active coach in college football right now. And you can tell he likes this team. They just play with heart. And I think, honestly, I have a hard time seeing a way where Georgia doesn't make the national championship game the way they're playing right now. I know Ohio State is so talented, and Ohio State will be on the Georgia side of the bracket. But my question is there a team that's more competitive and better at just going 100% all the time than Georgia? Because I don't think there is. And they're rounding into form right now. They stopped Texas in Sanford a few weeks ago. They crushed Alabama. They just look on it right now. So I would be terrified of Georgia if I was any other team in college football. But moving on to the Big 12 now, Texas Tech demolishes BYU 34-7. Yeah, kind of is what it is. BYU couldn't run the ball again, ran for just 63 yards. Texas Tech ran for 159. Bear Bachmeier threw 2 picks. It felt like we were watching the same game from Lubbock all over again. Baron Morton kind of just did what he wanted, played effective football. At the end of the day, Texas Tech is just flat out better. I think that's really what it is. I think people are not appreciating enough how good of a team Texas Tech is. They are one of the very best in college football, and I think the country's about to find that out as we hit the playoff. I assume they'll be playing Oregon. I kind of doubt that JMU is able to take down the Ducks in Eugene, but Texas Tech versus Oregon would be a very fun matchup. Two incredibly skilled teams. BYU, it's a tough break that you're left out of the playoff with only 2 losses, both coming to a top 5 team. It's just clear they're not ready for these kind of games this year. I think in the future, as Bear Bachmeier develops, they'll get better. I would like to see them have a bit more of a consistent run game in these high-level matchups, because without that, you're not going to win. Just ask Alabama. But yeah, not the year for BYU. I think maybe a year early, but still impressive to make the Big 12 championship game this season. I know Arizona State, with their massive injury struggles and whatever's going on with Sam Levitt, really kind of bounced them out and opened up a spot. But still, BYU played great football all year long, absolutely deserved it. And Texas Tech, you have to be happy for those guys, Big 12 champions. It's been a dream season for the Red Raiders, one Arizona State loss away from being undefeated so far. So incredibly impressive. They deserve a bye. I'm glad they got one. And now to Chaos Conference once again. The ACC gets even more ridiculous as now 8-5 Duke is your ACC champion. Yeah. Nothing more ACC than that is all I'll say. Virginia goes down 27-20 in overtime. The last drive of regulation was electric from Virginia. Just at will, down the field, whatever they wanted to do, they could do it. Then you head to overtime. Duke scores a touchdown. You think, okay, what does Virginia have to answer? Instant pick. And it was like, ugh. So rough from Chandler Morris. You saw him looking just devastated on the bench afterward. You hate to see that for a guy who's been really a spark for Virginia this year. Tony Elliott has really done a great coaching job, I think, with his Virginia team. And Duke ran the ball a lot better in this game than they did last time, 137 compared to under 50. They won the turnover battle. Those are 2 things they did not do last time these 2 teams played. So Duke flipped the script. They absolutely had to win this game. They did win this game. I thought it was kind of ridiculous. They were campaigning for a playoff spot. You're 8-5. No, just no. Another thing that I think is a bit ridiculous. But ACC, please add divisions or something and sort out this disaster so we quit getting teams like this in your conference championship game. Please and thank you. But congratulations to Duke for a game well played. Darian Mensah, good game. I feel bad for Virginia, to be honest. I don't think they would have won a playoff game by any means, but I think that based on their season, they were one of the few ACC teams that actually deserved a shot. So Virginia goes down, Duke wins. And then the AAC play-in game, Tulane defeats North Texas. Drew Mestamaker, 3 interceptions. Caleb Hawkins gets injured. I think if you see both those things, you know who's winning this game. And you would have been absolutely correct. Tulane ran for 199 and 3 touchdowns in this one. When Tulane runs the ball that effectively, they win most of the time too. And John Summerall is just a straight killer. I know you see the Florida hat, and Gators getting John Summerall. I am unbelievably excited to have this guy in Gainesville starting next year. He feels like a football guy. You can tell he likes being aggressive. He likes putting the nail in the coffin. Not something Billy Napier ever did by any means. So I am extremely, extremely excited to get John Summerall in Gainesville. And Tulane, impressive season. Impressive last 4 years for Tulane. They had the Cotton Bowl win over USC. Willie Fritz leaves to go to Houston. They bounce right back with John Summerall. I'm curious to see who they hire next because they have a really good track record right now of hiring head coaches. We'll see if they can keep that success in the AAC going. There's a lot of good teams in the AAC right now that just had their coach leave. I know Alex Golish to Auburn is another one. Ryan Silverfield from Memphis to Arkansas. And I'm curious to see how that conference plays out. Navy is pretty good year on year now. USF. I don't think North Texas will be able to retain their talent. I think they'll go with Morris to Oklahoma State probably. Tulane, I have faith in to hire a new head coach. And then Eastern Carolina has been sneaky too. I've been wanting to give Eastern Carolina love all year because they were right on the outside of that AAC battle. They played great football this year. Shout out the Pirates up in Greenville, North Carolina. But yeah, Tulane, your AAC champion. Your other conference champs, congratulations to James Madison for beating Troy 31-14 in a snowball fight. They were throwing snowballs at the Troy punter. It was hilarious. Very fun game. JMU just ran the ball effectively. They ran it all over Troy in the second half, pulled it away. Boise State defeated UNLV 38-21. Boise run game strikes again. They're Mountain West champions in what feels like a down year. That program is just a machine. Kennesaw State over Jackson State 19-15. I expected Jackson State to win this game. Kennesaw State proved me wrong. After just 2 years in the FBS, Kennesaw State is a conference champion of CUSA, and I think a lot of people kind of made fun of them last year for firing their head coach after the first year in the FBS. Like, you can't expect to be much better than that. It's your first year here. New head coach comes in, says, watch this. CUSA champions. Congrats, Kennesaw State. And then Western Michigan takes down Miami of Ohio in the MAC championship for your last conference champion. But that is your weekly recap and CFP reactions video. I am super excited for this playoff. I think you're going to have a lot of good games, especially once we get through the first round. I'm a little bit worried that we're going to get 2 stinkers with JMU, Oregon, and Tulane, Ole Miss. I think if JMU was playing a different team, I could see them maybe hanging in there, but I think stylistically it's a bad matchup for them. I doubt they're going to be able to win the line of scrimmage and impose their physicality, which is what they like to do against Oregon and Eugene. That's just going to be too tough, in my opinion. But I do think the committee got it right considering their own criteria and the system they're working with, but it's not a perfect system by any means. I know I want to go back down to 8. I don't think there's any way they'll shrink this. I hope they don't expand it. If I have to hear people start talking about why 4-loss SEC teams should be in the playoff, I'm going to lose my mind. But sadly, I think that is an inevitability at some point because TV money talks, and that's just how it is. But thank you guys for tuning in. If you did enjoy the video, do make sure to like and subscribe. I'll have another video coming out later this week grading every single new coaching hire. I'm very excited for that video. I know a lot of you guys have asked for it, and I'm excited to bring it to you guys. But until then, I've been Micah. Thank you guys for watching, and this has been State of the FBS.